I'm doing the best I can, Ian, so I apologize, but I'll let y'all get started. Mr. Chair, you have the agenda. I'll let you get started and I'll try to follow along and catch up with you as I get my computer issues straightened out.
Well, Mike, we can all identify with you having computer issues. So the time is 3:39, and this is the Thursday, December 19th, 2024 meeting of the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee. And as a call to order an establishment quorum, Edwin Claflin.
Here.
Michelle Kramer.
Here.
John Maitinen.
Here.
And RJ Turcott.
Here.
Laura Walters.
Here.
And Joe Topham won't be attending. So, do I hear a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion approved.
Great. Can we make that unanimous? And then approval of minutes, November 20, 2024. A motion to approve.
A motion to approve.
Excellent. Thank you, Michelle. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Edwin. By roll call vote, Edwin.
Aye.
Michelle.
Aye.
John. John, I can lip read you saying aye, so.
Aye, sorry. Spacebar didn't work.
RJ,
Aye.
Laura,
Aye.
Ian, aye, and two things. First of all, Mike, thank you very much for such comprehensive minutes. And I couldn't actually remember that Chief Casper had given her opinion, but I was unable to. There doesn't seem to be. The last recording is from September, so I take your word for it that she commented. That brings us on to action and discussion items, which is continued discussion of path stop sign removals. So I sent mine recommendations into Mike because it seemed the most abstract way of depersonalized way of doing it. Did anybody else send their recommendations into Mike, or was I the only one that did that? Okay.
I mean, I sent it to the whole group, but sorry if I had to just send it to Mike.
Oh, I don't think it makes any. Well, in fact, I'm very glad that you did send it to the whole group because I thought it was really helpful, Michelle, and so thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I think before we dig into the weeds on the four bike paths that we were talking about, it seemed that you and I agreed about the Paulpus Road, because basically I said remove them all, and then you basically in your spreadsheet you said no for, in other words, in terms of having a stop sign on the bike path, you said no for also for every part of the bike path, with the exception of the end of the path, obviously. And then you did say provisionally on North Pasture and Moores End Lane, you qualified it and you said no if there is a raised side path which would cause a car to yield when approaching the intersection. So are we in broad agreement as a committee that that would we recommend that going forward if we were presenting to the select board at some point on this subject? Do I hear any dissension or qualification? qualification isn't the word I'm looking for. What is the word I'm looking for?
I think qualification is better than other words, but I'm still very much confused by many of these things. I think in principle, I'm in agreement with both of you that on specifically the Pulpus bike path, that nearly none of the intersections that cross it are considered roads. I do have confusion, which is where we're defining what a road is, because I'm looking at some of the town documents which define things, and like Alter Road, according to the town maps, is a town road, but like that's not a real road. That's a dirt path that comes off of it, but by qualification standards, that's a road. And then you have other things like on the Pulpus bike path, there are other things that have like North Pasture Lane. That is a private driveway, essentially not considered a town road, but has major traffic flowing. And then there's other areas which have cars which are treated like a driveway, which then park directly across the bike path to then pull out. So they can't see the road unless they're crossing the bike path. So they were causing a hazard by being there waiting for traffic. Like there's,
Right.
by definitions and standards, everything is very confusing. But yes, I agree that everyone should know that if you're crossing a bike path, you need to watch out for bikes who go through there. But then you have other locations on the island where very clearly bikes should be coming to a full stop and allowing traffic that is crossing into a blind corner going across a bike path, that the bikes should be coming to a stop. Otherwise, you would have more accidents caused by it. So I'm very much confused by all these definitions.
Well, would anybody like to comment? Or would anybody like to agree? I should say with Ed. Laura?
I mean,
Yeah, I think.
sorry.
Oh, sorry, Michelle. I'll be fast. It's just I think a lot of it is safety, and it's funny because Pulpus, I'm like where the stop signs are. I don't think there need to be. I think one of the worst spots is that little dip that there's a parking lot like right after North Pasture that is totally blind, and people are going faster because they're going downhill. I see that as a danger, but that's not, to your point, Edwin, it's not a road, it's a parking lot and it's a way out and people can't see it when they're coming in. So I think when you look at safety, like if we just looked at safety and ignored the definitions of a road, a parking lot, a dirt path, what it is, to say, could someone really get nailed here? Like that's kind of how I was looking at it going through. I know that we do need to look at the definitions, but maybe just putting safety foremost and then kind of looking at it after. I don't know if that helps. But.
Are we talking only about the signage on the bike paths, or is this about also the quote unquote roads that are crossing them?
So
I interpreted it as just a bike path.
Okay, no, and that's just, like with the bike paths are something I think the town has control over everywhere, whereas some of these private roads or questionable roads, they may not, we may not have any ability to really guide the drivers. And then, yeah, to Edwin's point, I think a lot of this, I mean, do we have to go through and specifically say which ones, meet the idea of roads for our purposes? Like, I think improved roads is one place to start.
I guess I interpret it as not necessarily the legal type of road, but more what kind of road it is. So either asphalt or a dirt road, or because a car will probably, by definition, go slower on a dirt road than on an asphalt road. So I think on a dirt road, even though it might be legally an official town road, that you can say that bikes have the right of way there. That's kind of like how I interpreted it.
Well, I guess maybe one of the things, it's one thing to talk about this for discussions purposes, especially if we are kind of just concerning ourselves with the presence of stop signs for the path users. But then if it comes time to actually try to put it in front of some board or whatever, those definitions and such really start to matter when we put it.
So my understanding, John, is that I can quote chapter and verse on both state and local regulations. Cars have to stop before entering a public road, or they have to stop before crossing a multi-use path. And the when it is defined as such. And the reason why we've been having these meetings about the nuisance signs is because of the Article 76, which was passed in 2021, which is now over 3 years ago. And at any location at which a multi-use shared path intersects with or is crossed by a public or private way or driveway, with the exception of major intersections to be determined by the town, bicyclists, pedestrians, and other users of the paths shall have the right of way, and any person operating a motor vehicle shall stop and yield to such bicyclist, pedestrian, or other user. And so the way I understand it is that we are examining where there are stop signs on the bike path that basically would in our opinion make the path safer if they were removed. And hopefully, with far fewer signs, from my perspective, the signs that matter, bicyclists would pay more attention to, and would be legally in the wrong if they, sadly, there was an accident.
In a sense, we're trying to kind of codify which count as major roads under that particular thing, and therefore should have a stop sign for the path, and anything else shouldn't. Those become the nuisance signs that make people ignore the important ones.
Exactly.
Okay.
And to Edwin's point, I have done my best to try and figure out the difference between public and private, to no avail. Although even the map you showed actually delineates it. When you go in at a larger scale, it seems very hard to see.
It's very hard.
Good. But
my only point in that is that I agree that we should be removing pretty much all stop signage along the path, because it is by law, they must stop before crossing the path a vehicle. We do have a fundamental problem in the fact that the dump is defined as a private driveway. The Nantucket High School is defined as not a major crossing. There are logical places that there should be stop signs, even though they don't apply.
And that's really interesting, because it had never occurred to me that the dump was a private driveway. And I think we're all in agreement that there should be stop signs for bicyclists there, that is so heavily trafficked. And I'm glad that there are stop signs for vehicles as well as stop signs for bicyclists. So using Michelle's spreadsheet, shall we all agree with, would someone like to make a motion that with regards to the Pulpus Road, that we approve of Michelle's spreadsheet going forward to be presented to the select board, or to be part of our decision in terms of what we'd like to see done in the future in terms of removal of the nuisance stop signs? Would someone like to make a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Thank you, RJ. And a second?
Second it.
Thank you, John. So by roll call vote, oh, gosh. My mind is just, forgive me. Edwin,
Aye.
thank you. Michelle,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
RJ,
Aye.
Laura,
Aye.
Ian Golding, aye. So that's unanimous. Or, does anyone have a preference for the next, one that we take on? How about the
Let's do
Mad?
Medica Road. Oh, yeah. Jinx, sorry.
Not at all, not at all. So, so the Matticat Road, you say is you sort of the waste center, recycling center drive. You say yes, which I think we're all in agreement of, and I'm stunned that it's a private right of way. And I also agree with you with the DPW office that, I feel so that they know that there's a bike path there and,
Yeah.
There's far less traffic there. I know that, Mike, that you felt that South Cambridge had enough traffic on it, but it is a private right. It is a private road and there aren't that many houses there. And so I feel that I would agree with Michelle's recommendation. What I didn't I did not put Duke's Road down. And I take your point, Michelle, about what a difficult intersection it is.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's just because that's the one that goes down, and I think it will. Obviously, cars need to adhere to the rules, but I think that will be a difficult one to really say that they should have seen the bicyclists coming because they probably can't.
yeah. What other members feel? Yes, RJ.
So I tend to agree, and for Matticat Road, some of these crossings that we've got an asterisk next to, as well as Cisco and Hummock Pond roads, these are the ones that it's difficult for one group or the other to see. And even if it isn't difficult, as a cyclist, I don't trust that traffic at some of these particular intersections are going to follow the rules, and you're at a disadvantage as a cyclist. So these are the ones that, to me, I'd like to put it to highlight once we come to agreement on the ones we think the nuisance signs can go from. The ones that we're hung up on to discuss what Michelle has brought up before, which is the raised crossing there, or some sort of change in the surface if we're going to remove those stop signs, because I think forcing the vehicle to physically stop or risk damage to their suspension because there's a couple of speed bumps like there are at Goldfinch or at the Noshop neighborhood, or a raised crossing like they have in other towns is really the way to go at some of those if we want to get rid of the nuisance stop signs there. Thanks.
No, I think we all agree that that would be a significant help. And so for the Matticat Road, the Michelle has that that provision for South Cambridge, Long Pond Drive, and Millbrook and Dukes.
So
Oh, well, with Dukes.
And win.
And Win. So, and Win, Win, I tend to feel that, you know, they have plenty of, it's a relatively small road. I tend to feel that when, from my perspective, is not in the same category as Duke's. And but I'm happy to be corrected or to be told that the feeling is that it should be treated the same way.
Yeah, I would like to comment as well, but I'll let Laura and Edmund go first because
I'm sorry, Laura, I didn't realize you wanted to speak. I apologize.
That's okay. Edwin, do you want to go first or?
Sure, I can. Thank you. Specifically about when, I guess I can comment there. I have concerns about certain areas with blind spots, and a bike approaching that stop sign, if someone stopped where the car should be stopped, they may not be able to see far enough down the bike path. So I am concerned about the Win example specifically because the hedge is so close that you might not be able to see either a lower bicycle or someone who's tucked down. And then generally speaking about what we're discussing, I understand what we'd already discussed about Palpas, specifically with Maticat and other things. I feel like if we were removing a bunch of signs that people are now just going to follow the flow, they may think that certain stop signs that were left are just an advisement or unintentional. I think we would need to, unfortunately, add back a stop ahead sign prior to a real stop sign for a bike path going along there. And specifically at certain intersections where we are concerned about large vehicles like trucks entering the dump or the DPW, you may want to actually even include, I don't know if this is a thing, but like the truck crossing signs that you see on roads when approaching a commercial area, you may want to have that in the bike path to warn bicyclists that A, you're coming to a stop sign where you should be actually stopping, but B, there may be a larger vehicle crossing all the way across the path, waiting to go out into the main road. So therefore we'd be blocking the path. So you'd want to proceed to a crossing point with large commercial vehicles. This is going to come down when we're talking about Milestone as road as well, with some of the major developments and sites that have commercial commercial trucking routes. Just ideas.
Well, thank you, because I think that's a really salient point. And I guess, you know, in my mind's eye, I'm thinking that when we take these stop signs down, or when we recommend that some of these should be removed, I feel that there should be caution signs for bicyclists put in their place. So it's not just a straight run, you know, bicyclists are cautioned to pay attention. And that, you know, truck crossing is a good example of really drawing their attention to what they might expect. So, yeah. So I guess that was my assumption, that when we were talking about removing the stop signs, we are also recommending that there be a caution sign of some description put in there. And I believe I've shown the sign from Colorado, which you're probably all sick of looking at, as an example of what they have in Colorado.
I mean, specifically looking at the Milestone bike path, which was the first one out here, it has such a wide area surrounding it. So vision is not really that much of a problem on there, but you have some of the more modern bike paths that have been more tucked into woods. You have many more blind corners and places where there potentially could be problems, even though the bicyclists are removed from more traffic.
Right, right. So, Michelle, you sort of, again, you've provided us the blueprint here. So since I'm perfectly happy to defer to the collective wisdom on when, should we make a motion to accept this as our recommendation?
I have one.
Yes,
One,
yes, I'm
like-
sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
Laura.
Actually, the one I had my list. It's not here, and this would be more like just one side with the stop sign, but if you're going by Barrett Farm, because there's that dirt road that comes in the parking lot, and it's more in the summer because people are going up a hill, and if they're coming out of the parking lot, they're looking at the road, like cars are looking at the cars, and they're rarely looking at the sidewalk, and you can see it fine. If you're going towards Mattakit, I don't think you need a stop sign, but if you're coming from Mattakit, there's bushes there and people can't see when they're coming up. So I just worry it's, I don't know if that's an option, but a one side stop sign, you wouldn't need it on both sides. I don't know if anyone else has any thoughts on that one.
Which dirt road is that?
So it's if you're coming from Mattakit, heading into town, and where you pass, right before that water fountain, like right where Barrett Farm, there's a parking lot and there's a dirt road, and people go down to the beach there. So in the summer, if someone's coming up the dirt road, they tend to look at the parking lot to see if someone's coming out, and vice versa. And I've seen cars there that their cars are looking at cars and the cars aren't looking at the bikes. And from the town side, it's not an issue because people usually stop at that water and there's plenty of visibility, but it's coming from Mattakit. You can't see on that angled road, people coming up. It's like too many bushes on that side. It just always kind of freaks me out.
Well, so that has an interesting history because Brad Mosher's wife, who is no longer with us, was the one that asked for the stop signs to be put there. And I know that because Brad told me. And it's a dirt path that has relatively little traffic. And from my perspective, I feel that absolutely cars should stop there. So I would prefer to see a caution sign for bicyclists rather than a stop sign. Because I feel otherwise we can start arguing lines of sight for more and more dirt roads and paths. So I don't know to what extent the hedge might be cut back there. But so I think from my perspective, I would like to see a caution sign for bicyclists rather than a stop sign there. I don't know what others feel about that.
A caution sign's fine too, just as long as it alerts people, because the road comes in on an angle, kind of like the same way it does at Duke's, and people aren't looking that direction. So,
and I'm sadly forgetting Brad's wife's name, but I'm getting bad with names. But that was the original intent behind her asking the DPW to put stop signs there for exactly that reason. So, so with that caveat, would anyone like to make a motion?
I think Matt and RJ have a question.
Oh, sorry. I'm not running a very good meeting here. Sorry, guys. RJ?
I'll let Matt go. He had his hand raised longer than me.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Matt. Just a couple comments. One thing I think you should ask is that the brush get cut out of the town, the sight lines. It's a brush issue, like Wind Street. If that was actually cut back to where it should be, people that pulled up actually probably could see both sides. So, and then the other suggestion, so I would suggest that be a general comment on all these, is the town cut back as much as it can into the road, out of the road layout. The other thing I would suggest is somewhere like Duke's, that's coming in at an oblique angle. If there's enough room there, if you look at that on GIS, if there's enough room to move it to the right and have it come straight out to the road, you cut the brush back again, you probably solve that. That's probably not going to happen right away, but I don't think it would be too difficult to have it happen. So that may be another way to handle some of these situations. Thanks.
Thanks, Matt. And I just made my screen larger so I can now see your hands. But thank you. Those are both excellent suggestions. Any other hands? Yes, RJ. Although you haven't got your hand up, but
I put it down.
okay.
but I tend to be in agreement with Laura on that it's almost a three-way intersection where Barrett Farm Road is, because that parking lot can be busy in the summer, and I have had a few close calls, and it's much worse coming from Mattocket because of just the like acute angle of the bike paths. So I'd be open to trying to figure something else out there. Because like I said, that one is kind of a dangerous one. And even though it's a dirt road, people fly up Barrett Farm Road. And it's one of those ones where they stop and the dust keeps going by the car when they're almost pulling on a Mattocket road. So that's one that I'm in agreement with Laura on in particular. I hadn't really thought about that till she said it.
But, you know, they don't have a stop sign on Barrett Road. The cars coming out from Barrett don't have a stop sign. So,
And it's a distance that it would almost be a separate intersection if they had a stop sign coming up.
yeah, well, it is a separate intersection from the parking lot. The parking lot does not feed into Barrett Farm Road, the parking lot. And my feeling is that by the more we introduce, if possible, well, you know, some form of pedestrian or bicycle awareness there, the more people will become aware that they need to stop. And certainly a stop sign on Barrett Farm Road would be the beginning. Because right now, and I've had this discussion with two people who live there, in part because when I see Brad and I'm biking, I stop and I chat with him. And then a bicyclist goes right through and he said, see, they don't stop. And I said, well, you know, in their defense, you know, you don't have a stop sign on your dirt road. And so, all right, let's
Shall I make the amendment to Barrett Farm Road, or?
well,
I can
Or
change
a
that from
a
instead of
caution sign or something, just, again, just on that one side. Wouldn't be needed on both sides.
oh,
well, I guess we're doing the caution signs in general where we don't have stop signs. No.
yes, I would say we would be recommending caution signs at all intersections where there are currently stop signs. In terms of what we're trying to achieve, because we are trying to achieve more safety for bicyclists. And my feeling is that in going in this direction, we're bringing the issue to the attention of motorists, which is why I agreed with you on the Pulpus Road for the golf club. Because I think that's a very good way of reminding motorists coming out of the golf club that they have to stop and that bicyclists need to exercise caution. So, and Matt's point about brush cutting is, and it would be great to see the Deeks Road changed. But since it isn't going to be changed in the immediate future, I guess, do we still have a sticking point with Barrett Farm? Or can we entertain a motion to accept this the way that it's drafted? Or do we want to add win at the moment as a yes, to keep the stop sign there? Yes, RJ.
Would it be possible to, I don't know if this is in Michelle's, but would it be possible to request a stop sign on Barrett Farm Road? Or is that already in there?
No, there is no stop sign on Barrett Farm Road on either side. And the approach off the Mattocket Road, there's enough room to have a stop sign for cars on both sides of the bike path. And I absolutely feel that we could make that recommendation, that there be stop signs for vehicles both entering and leaving Barrett Farm.
So
But
yeah, so
shouldn't-
stop signs for vehicles and caution for cyclists, I'd be comfortable with.
But shouldn't there be actually a general stop sign for vehicles on every road anyways? Because
Yes.
like in general, or pedestrians and bicyclists have the right of way. And we're kind of now discussing, I guess, whether we want to have stop signs as an extra caution. But I would hope that on all those roads that at least cars have stop signs.
Well, Barnard Valley is an excellent example where, and now I'm forgetting the poor man who was killed, Stuart Finkelstein. There's still no stop sign on the dirt road coming out to the bike path. So, so I think that's absolutely a recommendation that we should make. And
Yeah.
John, I saw your hand go up.
I mean, I think the conversation went on a little bit, but did I understand you right, Ian, that you're suggesting we have caution signs? The way I heard it, it's everywhere that there is a stop sign right now, which we are discussing getting rid of, that we put in a caution sign instead.
Yes. So if you bear with me just a second. So while I go with this, so here. So this as is outside of Boulder. You see where that bike path is crossing.
Yeah,
Cars are being told to stop, and then it says trail crossing as an example. And here's another one that says, what does that say? I can't even read that.
driveway crossing.
Driveway crossing. So I'm saying something equivalent to that be put to warn cyclists that, you know, to pay attention.
And
In other words, that's
I
yeah.
guess my concern with that would be, and you referred to this idea before with respect to the stop signs, which is, you know, if everything has got a caution sign on it, it completely loses the impact. And so people are prone then to ignore them where they matter. So for example, you know, this Barrett Farm Road, if there's a caution sign there, but there is, you know, caution signs for the previous 5 little driveways or whatever, that one isn't going to matter. And that's when people start blowing through, is that they don't see the caution signs anymore.
I see I've been hoisted by my own petard, because of course you're absolutely right. And so, and to Laura's point, you know, Barrett Farm is one where there absolutely should be a caution sign. And so, so I'm going to eat my words on that and say that we should be more careful where we request them to be placed, or in the DPW's judgment where there should be. So yes, RJ.
I mean, to that point, in my mind, having, 70 or 80% caution, this is an intersection, and then fewer, you have to stop here, legally stop here, is better than the way it is now. Having more cautions at crossings is at the cyclist's discretion and rollerblade or whatever. But to me, it's safer to have fewer stop signs where you have to stop. This is a dangerous, busy intersection. And then everywhere else where there's a crossing, be careful, seems to be an improvement. At least that's where I was coming from.
But I do think that we need to have some kind of confirmation that where we are taking the stop signs away, that we're 100% sure that the cars will have a stop sign. Because otherwise, you'll create the same situation.
Very, very good point.
Could we
Barrett,
do something, you
Yes.
know, and make a third tier of bikeway signs, one of which, basically that just indicates, it's just a visual clue that there is a crossing ahead, just some visual and then you have the caution signs with the word caution on it and a big exclamation point, or however it works out, at those Barrett Farm situations. And then finally, at, Milestone and Tom Nevers, or wherever we decide, is a stop sign, an red octagonal.
Right. So, rather than, I know that RJ has to leave in a few minutes. And so if I may, if we can just focus for this meeting on just the removal of the stop signs rather than discussion of what might take their place. And also I know Mike would want to weigh in on that as he's presented the different signs that are currently available from the RMV. So do we have a motion to broadly accept Michelle's spreadsheet, and for the moment that we agree that with Dukes that they keep the stop sign there? So do I have a motion?
Motion to do as you just suggested.
Thank you, John. Seconded.
Can't repeat it.
A second, please.
Second.
Thank you, Laura. So by roll call vote, Edwin.
Aye.
Thank you, John.
Aye.
Laura.
Aye.
Michelle.
Aye.
RJ.
Aye.
Ian. Aye. Thank you. That brings us on to Milestone, and we have two left, Milestone and Cisco Hummock. So, well, there we have it. Milestone, I actually felt that the Tom Nevers Road was enough of an intersection that there should be a stop sign for bicyclists there. And also on New South Road, well, because that's the feeder from, for a whole part traffic coming down Milestone and then feeding out into, there's an awful lot of commercial development down there on Novadear Farm Road. And it feeds into the airport. I mean, it's a major feeder road. So that was my perspective. How did, and I understand, Michelle, that you said no if, that it would
Yeah,
be
maybe just as an add-on. So, I mean, for me, I would say for all of them, yes. But I mean, I guess it's a little bit the way I worded it. But so no on condition. So I guess the reconfigurations that are needed are not going to be done on the short term. So technically, this would all mean keeping the stop signs.
Yes, but you see, I would disagree. Torput is a private development with, I don't know, maybe 20 houses. The Milestone Crossing, similar. New South Road, Russell's Way is, a dirt road with basically a dozen houses, a mile and a half down. Chuck Hollow is certainly, there are a lot of houses in that Tom Nevers development, but I sort of feel that the onus should be on the cars to stop, and there's a good line of sight. So I would be having a definitive no for all of those, with the exception of New South Road and Tom Nevers Road personally. Yes, Edwin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I am in agreement with you. I think we should be removing the stop signs. I think that we as a committee might also be able to make private or recommendations to individual driveways, not just on Milestone Road, but in other places that they have high traffic flow areas, and they would be liable for potential accidents. So we would recommend on their driveway that they put a stop sign.
Right.
But like, I think that would be very important. Like, Nobody Farm Road, New South Road, and Tom Nevers are official town roads. Those are crossings. They are effectively multiple way stops where you should be waiting for a bicyclist to cross, then a car should go, then car should go, then another bike should go. You should be treating that as an intersection, in my mindset of how those stop sign rules should apply. In other locations, going back to Barrett Farm Road, the fact that they don't on their own private road have a stop sign at the end, that's on them, but they should for their own liability purposes. And that should be something that the town could advise upon, essentially. Like, hey, you have made a development, you are required to have fire extinguisher or fire hydrants, you're required to have access to emergency vehicles, you're required to have this, you're required to have it plowed, you're required to have it street swept for accidents of bikes crossing the area. Like, these are all advisements from the town for your own liability. That would be my way to combat this, saying, yes, we are removing these stop signs, but it's your liability if anything happens at these places.
Yeah, I think we all agree with that. And I mean, didn't get around to it this year, but I was thinking of introducing an article that for people who rent their houses with private driveways accessing onto bike paths, that the onus is on them, that they actually put some form of warning for the renters. And, you know, and I think I've given the example, which was, it must have been nearly a decade ago on Almond Pond Road, where I nearly was hit by a vehicle and had a shouting match with them and was being watched by a young couple behind that vehicle. And after the fellow who had nearly hit me drove off, the young couple said they had no idea that there was a bike path there because they'd been shown the property. The realtor had driven them in when it was dark. And so now there is a stop sign there, I might add. So that's an improvement. But yes, Michelle.
Yeah, I guess for Milestone Road, how I interpreted it is like the cars go the fastest there of any road on Island. And even if they like turn into another road like Russell's Way, and is Russell's Way actually also not used for some beachgoers and stuff like that, not just for people who have houses there. Well, anyway, but whether it's a dirt road or an asphalt road, I personally think that the infrastructure is not there yet to get rid of the stop signs, like having a raised side path or stuff like that. That's why I kind of said no with conditions and not a hard no. I would still feel not comfortable riding my bike there if it's just if I need to rely on the cars, sort of like if you make a mistake, then it's on you. But at the same time, I'm underneath the car. Like, I don't really care whether it's on the car or not, but I'm underneath the car. So it's like, I don't think it's safe enough yet to get rid of the infrastructure wise to get rid of the stop signs.
But Milestone Road, so Milestone Crossing, I should say, Milestone Crossing has a stop sign for the road, for Milestone Crossing.
Mhm.
And it also has the hash marks, the white, what would you call it, the the pedestrian crossing painting on the road. So all we're talking about is removing the stop sign for the bicyclist, and maybe this is a good example of where there should be a cautionary sign. But the line, I'm looking at the pictures right now, and there's the line of sight is good, and You know, it's not as though it's a major intersection like Tom
Yeah,
Neville Road. I mean, it just isn't, you know, and I feel
for me,
we
it's just
really
this.
should be-
For me,
Sorry,
it's just
go
the
ahead.
speed of the cars. I mean, a lot of them are also huge cars. I don't know. It's on Milestone Road. At any of the intersection, I would not feel that comfortable. But
This is on Milestone Crossing we're talking about.
no, I know. But like at any of the crossings on Milestone Road,
So Torput, so
yeah,
even though that they all are, they're all delineated in ways that none of them are delineated on Pulpus Road. But I don't understand why you're comfortable with removing them on Pulpus Road and not on Milestone, where there's a clear indication of where they're crossing a bike path.
because they treat Milestone Road as a highway, and even if they turn into another road, they go with a faster speed than like on a Pulpus Road or in general. I mean, that's just, I don't know. I guess we don't have exact data on that, but so I guess that would be a gut feeling. But yeah, that's the reason. But, I mean, I'm happy to amend the document if everyone else is just wants to have everything as a hard no. That's okay.
Well, I just think I find it really interesting that I absolutely respect your opinion, and I think we've all had our experiences, and thankfully I haven't been doored like Edwin or RJ. I mean, we all bring our own levels of awareness and, you know, defensiveness, for want of a better road, to our bicycling habits. And yes, John.
So, you know, Milestone Road is how where I ride my bike to get in the town and such, or trike as the case may be. I do get what you're saying, Michelle. The cars do fly, and they have the ability to take those corners and go in pretty fast. But in my experience, they really don't. They kind of at worst, they jump on the brakes and come to, not quite a screeching stop before making that right turn and not taking it on two wheels. And especially at Tom Nevers Road, since they squared it up, that they haven't, there's still pretty much the ability to take that flying, but because the sight lines that verge is so wide and so open, the vehicles really do have a very good idea of they have no excuse, and they don't try to make the excuse that there is a biker there. And I think I'm maybe arguing the wrong place, but I guess that's, my point is, at the most of the intersections, the smaller ones such as Milestone Crossing and Taput, I don't think you need the stop signs for those. I think those are more nuisance than anything else. I think that Chuck Hollow, it's a little debatable, and I could go either way. But I think Tom Nevers, I mean, I guess the problem with Tom Nevers is when you're leaving Tom Nevers Road, people come up, they stop. In order to get onto Milestone, you generally pull out part way, and if a car's coming from Sconset especially, and it comes around that corner and comes into your view, you may end up stopping there because there really is new information. And it's at that point where if a biker comes flying across, not really paying attention, that's where I do think it gets dicey there. And then, yeah, up at Nobodier Farm and at New South, I feel they're major, especially because there are so many construction vehicles and other large commercial vehicles, you know, all the gas trucks and you know, I think those really are worthy of a stop sign. But the rest of them, I don't again, I think those are more nuisance. I understand the concern, but I think they're a nuisance.
Well, so I don't, yeah, I mean, we've got, these are all salient and intelligent points of view, so not, if I may say so in my humble opinion, so, and so I don't think we have, I don't know where to go from here. I don't know whether to say that we would modify this and say that we feel that Tawpout, I mean, from my perspective, after listening to you, John, I would be prepared to add New South Road on as well, because of you were saying about the I'm sorry, not New South Road, I mean the Nobodier Farm Road. No, I'm getting confused now. Which is the one that feeds the all the industry? The New
So
South Road, right?
So New South Road goes down to the VFW, but also
Right.
Reese and all those.
Yeah.
And then Nobodier shoots down to the to
the
Toscana
airport.
and the
Yeah.
airport.
Yeah. So
Hey, Ian,
yeah,
real quick,
You
I'm
have
gonna have
to
to,
go?
yeah, I'm gonna have to go.
okay. RJ, thank you very much. And good luck on the Conservation Commission, he said with a smile.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a great day, you guys.
Thank you. Have a happy holiday. So
Fabulous.
yeah.
So on the town map, it defines these as roads. Nobodier Farm Road, New South Road, Tom Nevers Road. Those are all technically roads intersecting with other roads. A town road intersecting with a
Right.
state road. So those are all defined as major crossings. So by that definition, should have a stop sign, right?
I don't know if they're defined as major crossings. I mean, we're the ones that really are deciding.
I'm just saying it's a town road intersecting with a state road. All the other things that we've been discussing have either been private driveways or not technically roads according to the town.
Right, no,
Yeah, I
understand your
guess-
problem, but I think, isn't it a
Oh.
matter of degree of traffic rather than the actual status of the road? In other words, that's what our article says, that to be determined
Yeah.
by the town. And certainly, I think there's no secret that the Drew, you know, the head of the DPW and Chief Casper approach it from the point of view of safety
Sure.
and would, yeah, and so would prefer to keep as many stop signs on the bike path as possible. And so if from my perspective, I think Nobodier Farm Road, New South Road, and I was thinking Tom Nevers Road. John feels that Tom Nevers Road, I mean, while the line of sight is there.
I think it should have a stop sign.
Yeah.
I do think it should.
Yeah, I do too. So
Yes.
are we all agreed that Nobodier Farm Road, New South Road, and Tom Nevers Road should continue to have a stop sign on the bike path?
I do.
Yes.
The way the situation is now, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So should we make a motion to that effect, please?
My point is that it's already defined as a road meeting another road, so that's a major crossing.
Well, I think it's a little vague that just because if it's a major crossing, I don't think that automatically makes it so that they have to have stop signs according to that article. I think the provision is a little vague that they technically could make any intersection that the town thinks needs a stop sign.
Well,
I think-
specifically in the case of the Milestone Road, all of these pathways are directly in the crossing. Like it's already intersecting with the intersection. It's not removed and farther away from
Yeah.
the like path, like you're at the rotary crossing or you have a bike path crossing higher up down the road. Like this is actually the intersection.
Yeah,
is my
and
opinion.
I think there's this is where the two the state and the town conflict a little bit in that the state says definitely these are two real roads, they need to have a thing, and then the town tried to do this carve out to give themselves a little bit of room to play with. And I think we're all agreeing here that we don't even want to use that because the town's carve out would allow us to pull the stop signs away. And I do think we're agreeing that we don't need to do that.
I think that's a good way of putting it.
Yes.
And so
I am most wildly confused when the bike path ends into the rotary in the middle. And technically, do the bikes are not supposed to have any stop signs going into and crossing the rotary?
they would have to. I mean, it would be common sense, right? That the bike path would.
I would hope so. I also just generally know that, like,
Yeah.
as a general law, if you're walking across a crosswalk, you have the right of way. But you have to come to a stop before you enter a crosswalk. And people regularly just are on their phones from 10 yards deep, and they just blindly walk across crosswalks on this island. So I'm confused by
staggering.
everything.
There's a YouTube video of a Swedish public safety of exactly that. A good-looking Scandinavian guy in his early 20s on his phone, smack, by a car, and it's part of their road safety. And God knows how
Campaign to make it safe, yeah.
every year with the cell phone. They say it's a quarter of fatalities, right, in the United States involve cell phone use now in cars.
Mhm.
So, all right. So a motion to accept Michelle's spreadsheet for the Milestone Road with the provision that Nobody Farm Road, New South Road, and Tom Nevers keep their signs. So
then for the other roads, you want to have a hard no.
no.
Keep it simple.
I think that's I think that's kind of what as a recommendation.
Okay, yeah, hard no.
Okay.
Yeah.
A second, or
Oh,
did anyone do
I'll
that?
second
Or
it.
a motion? Oh, sorry.
Okay,
we not-
so by roll call vote, we Edwin,
Aye.
thank you. John,
Aye.
Laura,
I,
Michelle,
Aye.
Ian, I with RJ had to leave at about 4:38. And so that brings us on to the final one of Cisco. And so my recommendation was Bartlett Farm in Somerset. So that they kept their stop signs.
Yeah, I guess I'm always a little bit afraid of the roads that have asphalt on it because cars tend to drive faster there, just as a personal experience.
Right.
That's why I have like all these conditions here. But again, the same as with the Milestone Road. If other people want to have a hard no for the other ones, I can chase that.
Laura?
Yeah, I had the same too, the Bartlett and Somerset, and my reason, with, obviously, we all know there could be a lot of drunks coming out of Cisco, and I think just for the safety of bicycles, there should definitely be something, at the very least at that one, just to stop and, you know, make sure.
So, if everybody's in agreement, if we could change to that a hard yes on Bartlett and Somerset. And,
And a hard no for the other fours.
from my perspective, yes. So would anybody like to make a motion to that effect?
I think John just did.
What?
I'll make the motion.
Was that you, John?
Move
Okay.
to do as you said,
Okay.
hard nose on everything, hard yes, except hard yes on Somerset and Bartlett.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. A second?
Second.
Thank you, Laura. So by roll call vote.
Sorry, could I interject before a vote, please?
Of course.
Just for clarification. At the end of Milk Street Extension, Hummock Pond Road, is that the end of a bike path going onto a sidewalk? Technically?
Yes, it is. And so
On a different road? So that would technically be valid for a stop sign? I'm sorry for being such a,
No, you're absolutely right.
Pest.
Yeah.
No, you're, I mean, the thing is, we're gonna, we're gonna have to,
I mean, we're essentially debating between like having a stop sign versus a caution sign versus a blind driveway versus a trucks crossing versus a yield versus we are still going to protect the bikers, but I think that's the end of a bike path technically.
yeah, no, Milk Street definitely should have a stop sign, I feel.
I guess I thought that they meant the intersection with Hawthorne Lane and Hummock
Yeah.
Pond. So
Yeah.
that one is, I guess, not in the overview, or
No,
because that would also need to have stop signs.
That's a weird intersection.
it is a weird intersection. So I'm glad you brought that up, Edwin, because
So it would be a hard yes, Bartlett Farm, Somerset and Milk, and hard no for the other three.
yes, I think that is the way I feel at this point. I'd completely forgotten about Milk. I was confusing it with another street, actually. So, and there's also a lot of traffic there. It's when Vesper Lane feeds into Hummock Pond Road there. And
Yeah, I guess that's maybe not considered, or we consider to actually take the stop signs away or something like that, because it wasn't in the overview. I think that Mike sent.
so it is the last one on the spreadsheet that
Oh no, but I meant the Hummock Pond, Hawthorne Lane, Milk Street Extension intersection. Because I think the Milk one is meant at the end of Milk Street Extension, where the bike path indeed ends.
oh, you mean down
Yeah, it mentions the
Like
right
at
side only.
Saratoga Lane. Yeah. Is Mike still on, or?
I'm still here.
here.
Oh,
So I think that this Milk refers to, and the way I took the pictures that you had, it's Milk Street extension. So I think it's just, and on the other side of the cemetery where the bike path ends completely. So. Are we in agreement there that this is Milk Street extension?
Yeah, my question is just like, where is the Humming Pond Road one on the overview? Because we're going from Aurora to Milk. I think we're missing one on the overview. Mike,
think
is that
so.
correct?
I would say that you're probably missing a couple of them. I don't see Oak Hollow Lane after Aurora, which probably should be there, and then Milk Street would be the end of the path. So it does transition from the Hummock Pond Road path to the Milk Street sidewalk side path.
So, so where Vesper Lane comes into Hummock Pond Road, it's actually called Milk Street Extension. Because I've got the photographs, but that's the last photographs that I included.
So you're okay, right? That last entry, Milk Street, that's the end of the path, right? Are we clear on that?
Sorry?
Yeah, we're clear on that, I think. But I was just between Aurora and Milk. You have the Hammock Pond Road, Hawthorne Lane, Milk Street Extension intersection. That was more my question.
And what was the question?
Well, I don't think I saw that on the overview, but so that would just mean that it is. Oh, is that considered the Somerset Road one? No, that's
No,
another one.
so Hummock Pond Road and Vesper Lane becomes Hummock Pond Road before it, where it then intersects with Milk Street Extension going east and Hummock Pond Road going southwest. And Mike is right that after between Aurora Way and where Hummock Pond Road takes a sharp right or continues into town on Milk Street Extension, that there's Oak Hollow Lane, which is not on this.
Yeah, I had only used the streets that we got in the email, but I also see, I guess, because now I look at the picture. So the picture has Milk Street Extension, so that intersection that I was confused about, but not the end of the bike path.
No,
because I would say the end of the bike path is then near town.
yeah,
Sorry,
it's at Mount Vernon Street, where there is a stop sign at Mount Vernon Street, just before Prospect.
Yeah.
On the other side.
Yeah, no, we should keep that one. Sorry,
Yeah.
I was just
Right, it's not on the spreadsheet. Patrick put together. And
Yes,
yes, Mike.
sorry, that was me, Edwin.
Oh,
If Mike has something to say, I would love to hear from him. Yes, I agree that Milk Street extension stop sign that's at the end of Hummock Pond Road makes sense to stay there and remain. It's
Yeah.
the end of that
Yeah.
bike path.
Yeah.
If you were to cross that crosswalk there, and then you're on Milk Street extension,
Right.
the multi-use path that's on the end of that, bike riders coming out who are often tourists do not know that that is a major intersection that they are entering onto. I would suggest that there should be a stop sign on the other side facing west going out towards Cisco.
Yeah, I think there is, in fact.
I do not see one
Okay, well,
on that
no, you're right.
on the pictures.
picture.
Behind the hospital sign.
Behind the hospital sign, there should be
Yeah,
at least a delineation line across where the word
Yeah.
stop on that multi-use path, if not
yeah,
an additional sign, because that is definitely a major road intersection and the start of any bike path.
right. Right. So, So now we have a yes for Somerset, a yes for Milk, a yes for Somerset, and a yes for Bartlett Farm. So,
So moved.
thank you, Edwin. Seconded by Laura.
Second.
By roll call vote. Edwin,
Aye.
Michelle,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Laura,
Aye.
and Ian, I. So, so good. I mean, there are a lot more streets to have spreadsheets on and continue the discussion, I think. But I would say this is a good first step that hopefully will engender a conversation with public safety officials and with the select board to start the process of a general agreement that it will be safer in the long run for bicyclists and indirectly motorists, but for bicyclists, as some of these signs are removed. So, and that brings us on to our next order of business. If I could find it amongst all the paperwork that I seem to scatter around the place while I'm doing this, please bear with me. I'm damned if I can find it. Would anybody like to fill in here for what's the next order of business on the agenda? Mike, what's the next order of business?
If there's
I-
no
I
committee
think
or
it's just-
public comment, then you just adjourn.
Oh, good God almighty.
I know the feeling. I'm having computer issues, remember?
Thank you. Yeah, I can still tie my shoelaces, but otherwise, sometimes one wonders.
Can I ask one thing though?
Yeah,
Sorry.
please, absolutely. That would come under committee comment.
Yeah. So with the recommendations that we've done then now, is that included in general caution signs at any place where there are no stop signs? And that there needs to be all stop signs on the car side, no matter whether there's a stop sign on the bike path side or not. Is
So
that what I understand correctly?
I'm sorry, I was slightly distracted. So I feel that this is a first step, and that that is something that maybe we should have that conversation with Mike as to what signs might be agreeable under the RMV codes for warning bicyclists. I'm not sure what signs are available, but I think we're in general agreement, are we not? Have I misunderstood you, Michelle? Go ahead and say it again.
No, so we're not recommending that right now. We're just going to talk about that later. That's what I understand then.
I think so, yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
So a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Thank you, Michelle, and seconded by Laura. I see again. So by roll call vote, Edwin.
Aye.
Thank you, Laura.
Aye.
Michelle,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Ian, I. Thank you, all of you, for your work on this, and I do hope you have a very happy holiday. So, and it's been
You
my
as well.
pleasure. So, thank you so much.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Aye.
Happy
Yeah,
holidays.
Happy holidays.
Mike, thank you again for all your work on this.
Enjoy the holiday season. I appreciate it, y'all.
Yeah, okay. Bye-bye. See you in